Right now, more than half the electricity generated on the entire planet is being consumed by one single type of machine. It is not computers, it is not lighting, and it is not data centers. It is electric motors. Specifically, induction motors. They are inside your air conditioner, your refrigerator, and your washing machine. They drive every factory pump, every conveyor belt, and every industrial fan running anywhere in the world right now. The induction motor is the single most used machine in all of human history. And here is what makes it truly remarkable. It has no brushes, it has no commutator. It uses no permanent magnets. There is no direct electrical connection to the rotating part whatsoever. The rotor spins without anything touching it. Power is transferred entirely through an invisible magnetic field. Yet this motor is so reliable that a properly installed induction motor can run continuously for 30 years without a single maintenance stop. In this video, we are going to understand exactly how this works. We will see how a rotating magnetic field is created from stationary coils. We will find out why the motor draws 6 to 8 times its normal current at startup. We will learn why heavy loads cause overheating. And we will discover how starters and protection devices keep it alive. Let us begin. Before the induction motor existed, rotating machines needed a physical electrical connection to the spinning part. DC motors used a device called a commutator. It was a ring of copper segments on the motor shaft. Carbon brushes pressed tightly against this ring to deliver current to the rotating winding. Because of this, the brushes constantly wore down. The commutator collected heavy carbon dust. The sparks caused dangerous fires in dusty or explosive environments. Maintenance was constant, and mechanical failure was frequent. Nikola Tesla recognized the solution in 1887. He realized that, if a rotating magnetic field could be created inside a stationary stator, the rotor would follow that field without any physical connection at all. No brushes, no commutator, no sparks, no dust. There are no wearing parts except the bearings that support the shaft. The key insight was this: you do not need to spin a physical magnet to create a rotating field. You can create a rotating magnetic field using stationary coils simply by supplying them with three-phase AC current. The three-phase currents are 120 degrees apart in time. When these three currents flow through three sets of stator windings placed 120 degrees apart in space, the combined magnetic field they create rotates continuously around the inside of the stator. It completes one full rotation for every cycle of the AC supply. At 60 Hz, the field rotates at 3,600 times per minute for a two-pole motor. This rotating field speed is called the synchronous speed. The rotor sits inside this rotating magnetic field. And this is exactly where the induction principle takes over. But to understand what happens next, we need to understand one fundamental law of physics. A conductor in a changing magnetic field always has a voltage induced in it. The rotor conductors are inside a changing magnetic field. For this reason, a voltage is induced in them. This voltage drives a current through the rotor. This current in the rotor creates its own magnetic field. And the interaction between the rotor magnetic field and the stator rotating field creates a force. That force is torque. The rotor begins to spin, without any wire connected to it, without any brush touching it. The movement happens entirely through electromagnetic induction. This is why it is called an induction motor. And this brings us to one of the most important concepts in motor engineering named as slip. Here is something that surprises almost every engineering student the first time they hear it. An induction motor can never reach the speed of its own rotating magnetic field. It can never happen. Not even when there is absolutely zero load on the shaft. It always runs slightly slower. This speed difference is called slip. And without slip, the motor produces zero torque and stops working entirely. Here is why. The induction inside the rotor only occurs because the rotating magnetic field is moving relative to the rotor conductors. The field cuts across those rotor conductors and induces a voltage in them. If the rotor were somehow spinning at the exact same speed as the rotating field, that field would no longer be moving relative to the rotor. There would be no relative motion at all. That means no changing flux through the rotor conductors. It means no induced voltage, no rotor current, and no rotor magnetic field. With no magnetic field, there is no torque. The motor would immediately slow down, and slip would reappear. For this reason, slip is not a design flaw. It is a fundamental requirement for the motor to operate. At no load, a standard induction motor runs at approximately 1 to 3% slip. For a 4-pole motor on a 60 Hz supply, the synchronous speed is 1,800 RPM. At 2% slip, the actual rotor speed drops to 1,764 RPM. This is exactly why motor nameplates show rated speeds like 1,750 or 1,760 RPM, rather than the theoretical 1,800 RPM. As the mechanical load on the shaft increases, the rotor slows down just a bit. This movement increases the slip. Increasing the slip increases the rate of flux change inside the rotor. The higher flux change induces a much higher rotor current. This higher rotor current produces more torque to meet the demands of the load. The motor automatically adjusts its slip to produce the exact torque the load requires. This self-regulating behavior is one of the most elegant engineering features of the induction motor. But this self-regulation has a dangerous side effect at startup. And this is exactly what causes the 10,000 people who watched that short to ask why startup current is so high. The moment you press the start button on an induction motor, the current drawn from the supply spikes to 6 to 8 times the full load running current. A motor rated at 20 amperes running current will draw 120 to 160 amperes for the first 2 to 5 seconds after starting. This spike is so massive that it causes sudden voltage dips in the supply network. It can even trip protective devices on other equipment sharing the same electrical circuit. To understand why this happens, you need to look at what the motor looks like to the power supply at the exact moment of starting. At 0 speed, the rotor is completely stationary. The rotating magnetic field is sweeping past those stationary rotor conductors at full synchronous speed. This means the slip is at 100%. The rate of flux change is at its absolute maximum. For this reason, the voltage induced in the rotor is at its highest point. The rotor current peaks. At the same time, the stator must supply the intense magnetic excitation to build this entire field from zero. This combination of maximum rotor current and maximum magnetizing current forces the stator to pull maximum current from the supply. At this exact moment, the motor behaves almost like a short-circuited transformer. The stationary rotor acts just like a shorted secondary winding. The starting current is limited only by the winding resistance and leakage inductance, which are both incredibly small. For this reason, the starting current is absolutely enormous. As the rotor accelerates, the slip begins to reduce. The rate of flux change inside the rotor drops. This causes the induced rotor voltage and current to drop too. The stator current naturally falls right along with it. By the time the motor reaches its full operating speed and a rated slip of 2 to 3%, the current finally settles down to its normal full load value. This intense starting current spike has 2 serious consequences. First, it causes a severe voltage drop in the power supply that dims lights and affects every other load on the same circuit. Second, it produces an enormous amount of heat inside the rotor during the acceleration period. If the motor fails to accelerate, perhaps because the connected mechanical load is just too heavy to move, that starting current will continue indefinitely at 6 to 8 times the rated current. In a stalled condition like this, the rotor can reach destructive melting temperatures in less than 30 seconds. This is why large industrial motors are never started directly on full voltage without a specialized starter. And it is exactly why heavy loads cause motors to overheat. Let us look at that now. An induction motor running at a light load stays perfectly cool. The exact same motor running at a heavy load gets hot. And under an overload condition, it gets dangerously hot. But why does this happen? The motor is doing more mechanical work, so it naturally needs to pull more current. More current flowing through the stator windings means more heat is produced by the winding resistance. Heat in a conductor equals current squared multiplied by resistance. That squared relationship is absolutely critical. If the current doubles, the heat quadruples. If the current triples, the heat increases 9 times. At full load, a standard motor runs at a winding temperature that its insulation is specifically designed to handle. The motor nameplate shows this as an insulation class. Class F insulation is rated up to 155 degrees Celsius. Class H is rated up to 180 degrees Celsius. The motor is engineered so that, at its rated load, the winding temperature stays safely below the insulation limit with a built-in safety margin. But at an overload, the current exceeds that rated value. Heat generation increases with the square of this excess current. The cooling system, which is usually just a fan mounted directly on the motor shaft, cannot remove heat faster than it is being generated. The winding temperature climbs straight past the insulation rating. The insulation begins to degrade. Every 10 degrees Celsius rise above the rated temperature cuts the insulation life in half. A motor running 20 degrees above its rated temperature loses 75% of its expected insulation life. A motor running 40 degrees above its rated temperature has only 6% of its designed life remaining. This is exactly why overload protection is not optional. It is the absolute difference between a motor lasting 30 years and a motor lasting 6 months. And this is exactly where overload relays, thermal protection, and the starter system become critical. Let us cover those now. The startup's current problem has 3 practical engineering solutions. Each one trades off starting torque against current reduction. Understanding which to use in which situation is one of the most practical skills in industrial electrical engineering. The first method is direct online starting, or DOL. The motor is connected directly to full supply voltage at the exact moment of starting. Full 480 volts are applied immediately. The starting current spikes to 6 to 8 times the full load current. The starting torque is 100 to 150% of full load torque. DOL gives maximum starting torque, but it also causes the maximum current surge. For this reason, DOL starting is only used for small motors below 5 horsepower. At that size, the starting current spike is small enough that the supply network can absorb it without problems. For large motors on a 480-volt industrial supply, DOL starting causes severe voltage dips that affect every other machine on the same bus. This is completely unacceptable in a factory environment. The second method is star-delta starting. The motor windings are first connected in a star configuration for the first 5 to 10 seconds of starting. Then, a timer automatically switches them to a delta configuration for normal running. When the motor starts in star, each winding receives the phase voltage of 277 volts instead of the full line voltage of 480 volts. The voltage is reduced to 58% of normal. Because of this, the current is reduced to 1/3 of the DOL starting current. The torque is also reduced to 1/3. For this reason, star-delta starting is only suitable for loads that can easily accelerate under reduced torque. Fans, pumps, and compressors are ideal. Loads that need high torque to break away from rest, like heavily loaded conveyors, cannot use star-delta because the reduced starting torque may not be enough to move the load at all. The third method is the soft starter. This is an electronic device that uses thyristors to gradually ramp up the voltage applied to the motor from 0 to full voltage over a programmable time period of typically 5 to 30 seconds. The motor accelerates smoothly, with no sudden current surge. The starting current can be limited to just 2 to 4 times the full load current, rather than 6 to 8 times. The mechanical shock to the driven load is also entirely eliminated. For this reason, soft starters are used on large motors, on equipment that is highly sensitive to mechanical shock, and on supply networks where voltage dips are not acceptable. Beyond the starter, the motor needs continuous protection during normal running. And the most important protection device is the overload relay. 3 protection devices keep an induction motor alive. Understanding what each one does and what each one does not do is essential for any engineer commissioning or maintaining motor-driven equipment. The first is the thermal overload relay. It monitors the current drawn by the motor on all 3 phases simultaneously. Inside the relay, a bimetallic strip heats up in direct proportion to the current passing through it. When the current exceeds the set threshold for long enough, the bimetallic strip bends far enough to trip a contact and shut down the motor. The key feature here is the time delay. A thermal overload relay allows the high starting current to flow for several seconds without tripping, because it recognizes this as a completely normal startup event. But it will trip on a sustained overcurrent that indicates an overloaded or stalled motor. The thermal overload relay does not protect against short circuits. That is strictly the job of the circuit breaker or fuses on the incoming power supply. The second device is the thermistor, embedded directly inside the motor winding. A thermistor is a temperature-sensitive resistor. Its resistance changes sharply at a specific temperature. When the winding temperature exceeds a critical threshold, the thermistor resistance changes dramatically. This change is instantly detected by an external relay that trips the motor. The thermistor measures the actual winding temperature rather than just inferring it from the current. For this reason, it provides much better protection than a thermal overload relay in situations where the current is completely normal, but the winding temperature is dangerous due to poor ventilation or high ambient room temperatures. The third device is phase failure protection. If one of the three supply phases is lost, the motor attempts to continue running on just two phases. In a condition like this, the current in the remaining two phases rises to dangerous levels. The motor begins to vibrate severely. The winding temperature climbs rapidly. A phase failure relay detects this voltage or current unbalance immediately, and it trips the motor before serious damage occurs. Phase failure is one of the most common causes of motor burnout in industrial environments. Because of this, protection against it is not optional on any motor above 5 horsepower. With starting methods and protection understood, the complete picture of the induction motor is now right in front of you. Let us close with the complete picture in 60 seconds. The induction motor runs more than half the electrical equipment on the planet. It has no brushes. It has no commutator. It has 0 electrical connections to the rotor. A rotating magnetic field created by 3-phase stator windings induces a voltage in the rotor. This induced voltage drives the rotor current. The rotor current then creates the rotor's magnetic field. Finally, the interaction of the rotor and stator fields produces powerful torque. The entire process happens through electromagnetic induction, with absolutely nothing physically touching the rotor except the bearings. Slip is not a design flaw. It is the fundamental operating condition that makes induction possible. Without slip, there is no relative motion, no induction, no torque, and no rotation. The motor beautifully self-regulates its slip to produce the exact torque the load demands. Startup current is 6 to 8 times the full load current because at 0 speed, the motor acts like a short-circuit transformer. DOL starting allows full startup current and is only used for small motors. Star delta starting reduces both current and torque to 1/3, making it perfect for fan and pump loads. Soft starters ramp the voltage up gradually and are used for large motors on sensitive supply networks. Heavy loads overheat motors because heat equals current squared times resistance. Every 10-degree rise above the rated temperature cuts the insulation life in half. The overload relay, winding thermistor, and phase failure protection all work together to prevent this thermal destruction. Remember this one final thing. The induction motor has survived 130 years as the dominant machine in industry because it solved every single weakness of its predecessors in one elegant design. No brushes means no maintenance. No electrical connection to the rotor means no sparks, no dust hazards, and no wear in contacts. Electromagnetic induction means torque is produced automatically in proportion to whatever load is applied. It is not just a motor. It is truly one of the most perfectly engineered machines ever built. If you are curious to learn why things are the way they are, subscribe to Zenthro Code and keep discovering.